Hi, everybody. Thanks again for being here. My name is Tanya Aure with TA Financial Strategies. Today, I'm speaking to Kelly Myers, a divorce coach with First Steps Divorce. Kelly, thanks for being here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So my question for you is this. Lately, I continue to meet with a bunch of clients, especially around this time of year. One of the biggest issues that pop up is when we are talking about finances. Oftentimes, my clients are the ones that did not necessarily handle the finances during the marriage. They are so overwhelmed. It's an overwhelming topic with all of the numbers and the statements, especially if you've been married a really long time, right? So to come to me to say, you know what, I really need a clarity about my finances. Can you help me? I say, yes, of course I can help you. These are the steps we're going to need to take in order for that to happen. And then I get a freeze. I get this deer in headlights look
Yeah.
from, okay, what's next? How do I do that? So what I usually do is I send them over to you to work with you to get them kind of a place where they can wrap their head around it. So can you talk a little bit about what you do and how that works?
Absolutely. So, as you know, when it comes to divorce, there's just so many different things and so many decisions that people are having to make. And the finances are one, a very big one, but one of them. And so, really, as a divorce coach, what I try to do is help clients look at the whole picture, help them prioritize the things that they need to pay attention to, and really in what order. Not everything is urgent, not everything has to be done today. And so we take a look at what needs to be accomplished, what steps need to be taken, what steps should we take first? What are the most critical steps to take? I also become my clients' strategic thinking partners. So they'll work with you and get some information, and they may work with a realtor, they may work with their attorney, whatever, but they're getting all this information that they're kind of bombarded with. And it just feels like a lot. And so what we do is sit and kind of weed through that information, determine, where do you have questions? What do you understand? What do you not understand? What more information do you need? And really help be their thinking partner through this process. Help weed through all the information that they get, because again, there's a lot and it can be really overwhelming. And so my hope is in that process, not only do I help them with their emotions, kind of bring the emotions down, help regulate a little bit more emotionally so that they can shift from that emotional right brain to the more logical thinking left brain. So that then when they meet with you, their emotions are managed, they're able to think a little bit more logically, and we will have worked together to have figured out, what do they understand? What do they not understand? What questions do they want to ask you? And also, what information should they be sharing with you that they've heard from other professionals they're working with?
Well, and I appreciate that so much because when I stay in my lane isn't real estate. My lane isn't how are they feeling about these particular issues. My lane is these are your assets and debts. This is your cash flow. This is what it's going to look like now. This is what it's going to look like after the divorce. But in order to get them to a place of understanding and reality, it's a completely different tool set, right? I would think to bring them to this place of acceptance of a very difficult event in their life, but it's happening.
Absolutely. And part of that is creating goals, right? So that's kind of what tethers us, is what are your ultimate goals? And so I'll work with them to also determine, what do you want your life to look like when the divorce is over? What are your goals, right? Because that's helpful. If you know kind of how they want their life to look like, then you can use your skill set to help them on the financial side of things to accomplish those goals. And when we can be tethered to something like goals, it keeps us a little bit more again in that logical, side of our brain, because it's a touchstone we can constantly be using. Does this decision help further me toward my goal? Versus sitting in the emotional of, I've got to give that up. What am I going to do? Or I don't know what I can afford. This way, with having some goals and being more strategic about the process, it helps people be more regulated so that they can make better decisions.
And the last question I have for you. So then my next question, or the question I get next really is, well, how is that different from my therapist? My therapist is helping me work through all of these issues. I generally say because the divorce coach is not looking at these past issues, they're looking ahead. Can you expound on that a bit?
Absolutely. It's a great question, and I get that asked all the time. The difference between therapy and coaching is that therapy really deals with things that have happened in the past, trauma that may have happened, mental health issues, um, areas where you're emotionally stuck. What I deal with is really the moving forward. Let's talk about goals. Let's talk about steps we can take to start writing the new chapters in your life and not being stuck in the old chapters, right? The other thing that I will tell you that I believe is really important, and a big distinction between therapy and a divorce coach is that not all therapists understand the process of divorce. And I can't tell you how many times I've had a client who's had a therapist weigh in on decision making when it comes to divorce, or provide some guidance as to what would be, for instance, the best divorce process for that person and their spouse. And it's really been, I think, a miss on the therapist's part, and not because they weren't trying to be helpful, but they may not live and breathe divorce. And so it's really important that if you're working with a therapist, again, kind of that idea of staying in their lane, they should be there to help you with the emotional part, the mental health part of what you're dealing with, not really weighing in on the process or the divorce itself unless they have a lot of experience in that. And there certainly are therapists out there who have spent a lot of time in the divorce world, and then certainly they can help guide you through that.
Well, thank you for clarifying. It's such a big help to me as a CDFA to have my clients speak to someone like you to keep moving the process forward, because it's just so easy, as you and I both know, to get stuck in the weeds, and people could stay there for a long time, but that's not ideally what we want. So thank you so much for joining me today, Kelly, and we will talk to you soon again.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.